In this lesson, we'll learn how to tackle topology challenges by creating a screw head for a car. Alright, so in the last lesson we had created the wheel, and now we need to cover up this hole that we have in our hubcap, I guess, with a screw. So to get started with this, there's a couple of challenges that we have. The first challenge is it's a Phillips screw head, and that can be kind of difficult to create if we use something like a sphere. So if you take a look at the reference image, it is spherical shaped, and the problem that we have is if I come in and I create that sphere and we bring that forward using our move tool here really quickly, and I'm hitting W to use that. If you take a look at the topology, we really don't see much of the topology that we need. We can come in and we can convert it to an editable poly. We could adjust our segments down to get it low enough to work with, but it's still not quite exactly what we need. So what we're going to do is, instead of using a sphere, we're going to use a box. And I know that this may sound a little off, but it really is going to help with topology. So I'm going to make sure that I'm using my cube creation method, and I'm going to left click and drag this out, and I'm hitting F3 just to go to wireframe view, and I'm going to go to about the size of that area there. So it's going to be a little bit bigger on the corners. Let's go ahead and pull that forward right up to this point here, and I could actually align it to my wheel. Let's just do center to center and then pull it forward in the Y. Alright, so now that I have this, let's go ahead and use the Turbo Smooth modifier. Now before I do that, let's convert it to editable poly just to make this easier on us. And let's use Turbo Smooth. And when I do that, you'll notice that it turns into a spherical type of shape. And here I have that topology that looks like a Phillips screw head. I can adjust my iterations and add even more segments to this, and I'm going to go up to 3, and I'm going to hit OK on this. Okay, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to convert this to editable poly, and then I'm going to go to my top view and go to vertex mode, and let's hit F3, and I'm going to get rid of all of the vertices across the back side here. So here's the center line. I'm going to make sure that that is not selected and only everything on the other side of that is. So I'm going to delete that, and then let's pull that forward and get that into place. So let's push that right up against the back there. That looks pretty good. And now what we can do is we can go to polygon mode, and I can select the polygons that I need to create that shape. So I'm going to make sure I go down far enough here. And let's go down to right here. So you should have 3 polygons out from the center, okay, on each side. So there we have that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and extrude this, okay, and we're going to extrude this in a negative direction, and I'm only going to extrude it just a little bit. Let's say like negative 0.2. And I'm going to hit the plus sign on this. Now what this is going to do is it's going to create this extrusion and then add another one on top of it. Okay, and it looks like I did one too many there. And now that I have that, I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to pull that back a little bit further. Now at this point what I want to do is I want to straighten out that shape because it's still spherical. And if you take a look at a Phillips screw head, it's actually more straight. Okay, and it might even be pushed into it a little bit more in the opposite direction. So I'm going to hold down Control and convert my polygon selection to a vertex selection. And then I'm going to grab my scale tool, and I'm going to scale all of these in the Y. And what that's going to do is straighten those up and make that very flat. Okay, so let's make sure that we're not cutting through any other geometry. That looks great. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to Edge Mode and Edit Swift Loop, and I'm going to create one Swift Loop right here toward the back edge there. And now that we have this, I'm going to go back to polygon mode, and I'm going to inset that one time. So let's use inset, and you'll see that it begins to tear up because we've gone a little bit too far. And I just want to inset this maybe 0.05. Okay, we're going to hit OK on that, and now I can go ahead and apply a Turbo Smooth to this, and you'll see that we get these nice hard edges and looks really good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn on Isoline Display, and I might bump that up one more just to create that shape. Okay, everything's looking really good on this. Now I want to also center up my pivot for this object. It's a little off, so I'm going to go to my hierarchy panel, Effect Pivot Only, and center it to the object. Let's turn off Effect Pivot Only, and let's pull this out here. Now at this point I want to create the backside because there might be an instance where we need this to have some geometry across the backside. So I'm going to go to Edge Mode, or I'm sorry, Modify Panel, and then we're going to go into Border Mode and select this outside border here. And then I'm going to grab my Scale tool and hold Shift. And I'm going to scale this along the Z and X. And this is going to create a set of segments right here along the back side of that. Okay. Let's turn on Show End Result so we can see that smoothed result there. And let me go ahead and scale that back out just a little bit. And then I'm going to hold Shift and scale that in again. And then we're going to extrude it out. Okay. So let me make sure that we have that selected. And let's use our Move tool instead. And then we're going to hold Shift and move that out, just like so. So just a little bit. We don't need a lot. And if you want to tighten up that edge right there, just simply use Edit, Swift Loop, and just add a Swift Loop right in here. So it might be a little hard to see because it's getting down below that geometry. Okay, you may have to go to Wireframe. Alright, so there we have our screw that is going to act as kind of the little hubcap sort of thing there. And if we want that to fit a little bit better, we can always grab our Scale tool and scale that in all three directions to do a uniform scale and just kind of fit that in there a little bit closer. Alright, looking good. Let's change its color and apply just that previs material just to make things easier to see. And there we go. So we've created the screw head, we've got our wheel, and we also have the tire. And now in our next lesson, we're going to create the assembly for our wheel. And that's going to entail the back side of this that's going to connect on the inside, that's going to connect to the axle as well. Okay, so we'll get started with that next.